Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia Beck. I live in Baltimore City, and I am a lesbian. You might be thinking to yourself, why is a lesbian speaking at the Heritage Foundation? And I ask myself the same thing. But my answer is pretty simple. There is no place for me. I am politically homeless. So believe me when I say I am grateful for the opportunity to share my story. Thank you to the organizers, to my fellow panelists, and everyone here for making this happen. My story is as unbelievable and absurd as it is commonplace. I got kicked off of the Baltimore mayor's LGBTQ commission as the only lesbian, simply for stating biological facts. After a months-long witch hunt, I was found guilty of violence. My crime? Using male pronouns to talk about a convicted male rapist who identifies as transgender and prefers female pronouns. It doesn't matter that he sexually assaulted 2 women in a women's prison after being transferred there on account of his gender identity. Oh no, it is far more criminal for me to call a male rapist he than it is for him to rape. The man who led my inquisition also identifies as transgender. He is the president of the Baltimore Transgender Alliance and claims to be a lesbian. I find that almost funny, because everything he does makes life for women, girls, and lesbians worse. Last June, during Pride Week, his organization, the BTA, sponsored a public event where lesbians would be, quote, hung by their necks, end quote. He advocates for commercial sex work, of which he has no experience as a white trust fund baby. He also inhibits the work of on-the-ground women organizations for not using inclusive language. I joined the LGBTQ Commission to give lesbians a voice in our local government, to advise the mayor on our underrepresented issues. I was reviewing proposals, speaking at town halls, and sharing very detailed notes with everyone on my committee. After a few meetings, I ran for a leadership position, and I won. I was one of 2 co-chairs on the Law and Policy Committee, but that did not last long. After the BTA president accused me of transphobia, the mayor's liaison swiftly scheduled an emergency meeting to assess my fitness as a leader. The meeting went worse than you can imagine. I was not allowed to talk out of turn. One by one, members of my committee, representatives of the BTA, and 3 brave friends went around the table speaking their minds. One gay man at the meeting said, biological sex was a thing of the past. I looked at him and asked, how can we be homosexual if sex is fake? I kid you not, that really happened. Another gay man disagreed with the dictionary definition of woman as adult human female. These men could not support their flimsy arguments. The next speaker, though, she broke my heart. She had just survived a hysterectomy, shaking and complaining of hot flashes. She said she was not and had never been a woman. Quote, it doesn't make me any less of a man that I have a vulva. It's there and it's masculine and it's a male and it's a man, end quote. As she said this, my accuser snapped his fingers as if we were at a poetry reading. It was so fake and performative. He didn't care at all for what she had endured in the name of gender identity. He snapped because it made him look like an ally. Hours went by, but I insisted that sex might be actually important to our work, as it definitely is to my sexuality. But their decision was made long before that night, and I was voted out. The meeting made one thing crystal clear. Inclusivity means all voices are welcome except women's, except lesbians. It's unfortunate that so many people are truly confused about gender and sex, so I'd like to break it down right now. There are only 3 sexualities: homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual. All the hip new identities in the alphabet soup, like non-binary, gender fluid, pansexual, are not actually sexualities. Neither is transgender. Yet everything is about the T now, entirely eclipsing the L, G, and B. The T is diametrically opposed to the first 3 letters in the acronym, and especially to the L. Sexualities are based on sex, but gender identities are based on stereotypes. They have nothing to do with same-sex attraction. In fact, they undermine and erase homosexuals. People are not attracted to genders. Yet every lesbian I know has been pressured to accept males into our dating pools and dwindling spaces. In order to validate their gender identity, men who call themselves trans women try to break the, quote, cotton ceiling, which refers to lesbians' underwear. The completely illogical statement that trans women are women is recited like a Big Brother mantra in every leftist space. No one really believes it. But saying so will jeopardize your career, your community, and your life. Sex and gender are not the same. People like to be polite and say gender instead of sex, and often use the terms interchangeably as if they were synonyms. But they mean different things, and we must not conflate them. Sex is a biological reality. It's not a dirty word. It refers to the 2 reproductive classes in our species. Even people with disorders of sexual development, commonly called intersex conditions, are either one sex or the other. To deny this fact means we are unable to name, address, and fix systemic sex-based oppression and exploitation. Many well-intentioned people think that this concept of gender identity is the next frontier of social justice, but in reality, it is regressive. Gender is based on rigid sex roles that legitimize male dominance and female subordination. The idea of a female or male brain only justifies treating women as subhuman. Gender cements sexist stereotypes. Women like me, who don't wear makeup or high heels, do not conform to gendered expectations of femininity. And that's okay. Women don't need to wear makeup or high heels in order to be women. Our female sex is the one and only qualifier of womanhood. But today, many young girls are told that they are born in the wrong body if they do not embrace femininity. It used to be that if you did not follow traditional gender roles, being the perfect pretty princess or mean macho boy, then conservatives would try to change your personality to match your body. But now it's worse. Liberals are trying to change your body to match your personality. As a lesbian, using a radical feminist analysis, I want to do away with both. I want all people to love themselves and live however they want in the bodies that they were born as. Girls who play with trucks and like the color blue, boys who play with dolls and like the color pink, children with autism, children who would likely grow up to be happy gay adults, are now being sterilized for defying sex stereotypes. Teenage girls are binding their breasts, shooting up foreign hormones, and undergoing dangerous invasive surgeries. Many of these girls decide it's easier to move through the world seen as a boy rather than as a girl. And I don't blame them. Being a woman is not always fun. But the joy of sisterhood, of loving women, even as friends, is something that no doctor can supply. We are losing an entire generation of sisters to this madness. That's why it's personal. It's infuriating, it's devastating, and I have had enough. I'm here because I care about women, and I expect that you do too.